It's Thursday night, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're ready to have a rockin' good time tonight.
Isn't that right? Because that's going to be our special guest this week with Rock-n-Ronnebaum, and I'm looking forward to it. Dave, how's your week been going?
Oh, lots of work, as we've talked about.
Yeah, I know it's been busy time, but you know what? We always make time for NWF Rewind, where we look back at a classic NWF episode from back in the day.
And I have the shirt back, Sean.
I see that, and I've got my good one again that I like. We each have our favorites when it comes to the shirts, and so
you know, I was joking with some coworkers at my full-time job today, saying, "Yep, today I'm working 4 jobs."
Yeah, because this podcast is a little bit of a job, you could say, right? It's a lot of work, but it's fun though, and I really enjoy doing it because it's fun to look back at this stuff. As again, for anybody joining us, this is our kids wrestling league back in the day when we were kids, and we're adults now, but we're looking back at when we were younger. I always want to let people know.
Hence the song that we used during our countdown, "We Are the Children," written by one of my favorite bands, Liliac. Music is available from them at liliacband.com.
Yep. And of course, we always appreciate that and the Queen of Hearts CDs, where that song came from. And we appreciate them letting us use that because it's better than using the canned royalty-free music that you'd get otherwise.
And here in a couple months, Liliac's going to be venturing out on their live tour, so you never know. We may actually get them on the show soon.
Yeah, that'd be great to catch up again. And also, I want to remind people, Dave, to visit our website, nwfwrestling.org. That's our official NWF website. Make sure you check it out. There's lots of great stuff on there. There's some merchandise on there, like these shirts and other things. And just check it out. It's a kind of our historical look back at the NWF. There's it's still in development, but there's a lot of stuff up there on pretty cool.
All right, and I would also like to remind our fans that if they enjoy the show, please click that like and subscribe button. It helps us get more views, and it helps you to promote us.
Absolutely. Like and subscribe helps us, and it helps the channel and everything else. We always appreciate that.
Also, if you click the bell, you'll be notified whenever we go live.
Which we go live every Thursday this time. So we're always live same time, same day. So unless sometimes we'll make, like we tried with the Destructors to do the show at a different day, but I mean that's a one-off, and that's very rare that we do that kind of thing.
Right.
So today, Dave, we're going back. We're going back today, Dave, for the show. Your favorite, my favorite.
The hardest ring on earth.
The dungeon, man. Fred Moore Junior High. It sounds like, oh, Fred Moore Junior High, a gymnasium or something. No, we were in the basement, the dungeon, and a ring that was on concrete. Literally. That was a hard ring.
Now, Crusher, you've wrestled in many rings.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, was the dungeon ring the hardest ring you've ever wrestled in?
Well, Pro Wrestling America's ring wasn't a picnic either, but yes, that dungeon, that Fred Moore ring was tough. It was wrestling mat pads on concrete. It doesn't get much harder than that. So
people always jokingly say that the hardest part of the ring is the ring apron. And Fred Moore, the hardest part of the ring was the entire ring.
Right, and thank God we were all kids back then, and our bodies were resilient to be able to take that kind of stuff. Because as adults, I would not want to take bumps in that ring.
No.
But well, Dave, why don't we bring in? But I think we should bring in our special guest today, Chad Ronnebaum, aka Rock-n-Ronnebaum, and get things rolling with him.
Let's get this show rocking and rolling.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in Rock-n-Ronnebaum.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good to see you again, Chad. It's been, 35, almost 40 years since we've probably seen each other back in the day. So
yeah, 40 years and about, more than 40 pounds later, I'd say, definitely.
But you're still in good shape. I've watched you on Facebook. You do a lot of different things, and you could try to, you like, what is it? Is it biking that you like to do?
Biking, getting back into some running, exercising, and now I just started, actually, because I missed the wrestling, a couple weeks ago, I started martial arts, boxing, kickboxing.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, just something it kind of reminds me of, there's a lot of younger high school, college kids in the class. So I'm like, go easy on me, but they don't. But I've gotten kicked pretty hard, let me tell you. And,
yeah.
But
no,
yeah.
I know. I told Dave I was telling the guys a while ago that when I was younger in my 20s, we tried doing some boxing, with just for fun, and we had the big 16-ounce boxing gloves, and that's a workout, man. So I can't imagine at this age doing kickboxing and that kind of thing, man. That's got to be rough.
What's funny is my job pays half for my membership there, which is good. But then they max out a certain amount. So for me to get a free gym membership at any time, because I don't like to pay for anything, we all don't with the way the economy is going. Right. I started cleaning the half hour twice a week at Anytime Fitness for a free gym membership.
Sure.
And then guess what? Speaking of old age, I thought I could go big treadmill, go above and beyond, pull them out a little bit to clean behind them, look good, First treadmill I pulled out, my shoulder popped that I had surgery on back in '98, made a nice crack, and I'm off work today, and I'm off work tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be healed for Monday. I just talked to my boss actually about an hour ago.
Yeah, we all getting.
So speaking of old age, yeah,
we're all getting older. Doesn't get easier.
The left arm was ready to go, and I'm still double jointing that one, but it's just like out of the blue, you lift something, and all of a sudden your body says nope, and next thing you know, you hear noises, and 2 hours later, I was at the urgent care, and so now I'm just resting it here and take the next couple days off.
At least here on the show, we're not going to be getting in the ring. We're going to talk about. Let's talk about the show when you joined. Now you came in. You joined our league back in the beginning of 1986 when we were kind of when we first went into Fred Moore Junior High, and you came in with a kid by the name of Chris Irick. Do you remember Chris?
Yep. I asked him what he was doing tomorrow or Friday night, and he said he had wrestling. And I said, hey, I heard about that in school. I'd like to join. And he brought me along.
So that's how that happened?
That's how it happened.
Interesting.
I think he might have called you and asked if I could join or something. And
yeah, we always ran that hotline and recruited constantly. So.
Yeah, and then next day I just had to come up with a name or something, and me and him were tape team partners for a little bit.
Yeah, first show you were the Sons of Thunder is what you called yourselves, and it was a tag team.
Oh,
but your name was Rock-n-Ronnebaum from the start. Did you come up with that name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of your idea to want to do that?
Yeah. Like in Rock and Roll Zoomhoff with carrying the boombox out there, so.
Yep, you did the same thing.
Yep.
I was going to say, I remember the boombox.
So, I was gonna say though, Chad, now I can think of 3 characters on our show that used rock and roll. Actually, 4 technically with me and Kelsey. We called ourselves the Rock and Roll Express for a tag team, but whatever. But for single wrestlers, I remember we had a kid by the name of Rock and Roll Reinholtz. His name was Chad Ronnebaum. You might have remembered him in school. He was one, and then there was you, and then there was Rock and Roller Mike Sanger, which only lasted. But those other 2 were only in it for an eye blink. You stayed in the show pretty much 86 for half the show, I think, more or less.
Yeah.
And
I think it was like till 8th grade or something. I think I rolled into 8th grade, or because I was in 7th grade when I started, and was I in there then? Like twin. Well, when the Twins won the World Series, I can't remember if I was still in it.
That was in '88, so you were out of it by then.
Oh no, yeah. 87 though, was it?
Or 87, I mean, yeah, that was 87 going into 88. Yeah, so that was when the Twins were in the World Series, the fall of 87. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't remember if I was still quite in it.
No, you came back for one show in Dayton.
Yep.
In early 87, but then that was it. But you were scheduled on our second Armory card, but you never made that one. I don't even remember the details. It's been so long.
I know I was working for my dad a lot, and he actually grounded me for a month, me and my friend, for what we did, as kids. And
yeah, maybe that's what happened.
Good old dad stopped the career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember being grounded right around that same time. We couldn't leave the house, and I would ride my bike around the yard over and over again in snow just to find something to do.
Well, I mentioned he came in with Chris Irick. His character was the Eye, but you guys were a tag team, but it quickly separated. You went your own ways in that show, and because Chris ended up teaming with Troy Steenerson as part of the U.S. Enforcers. But Chris Irick is one of the few wrestlers we actually kicked off the show because he was just getting into it with other kids off the camera, and it was getting to be a problem, and we had to let him go. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I think it makes sense knowing him. He was my parents didn't like him. He was just
Yeah, he kind of got to become a troublemaker a little bit of sorts, and so he was he was one of the few that we had to just say, you know what, you're done. Because we didn't generally kick people off the show, but he was one we had to almost. But he was a good character. Actually, I didn't have a problem. We're going to see him on the show today. He was a good character on the show. I didn't mind his character. Just he couldn't get along with a lot of the guys off the camera. It was a problem.
Yeah. I had Chris, the other Chris, the Ice Dragon.
Yeah, Chris Downs.
Downs, yes. And I see he owns a pizza restaurant or something in Southdale Mall or something. Is that correct?
Not in Southdale. He's over in Maplewood Mall, and it's an excellent pizza. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, if you go there, it's excellent pizza.
Yeah, I would like to see him again. And
he looks a lot different.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, we're going to start the show here, guys. I'm going to get this thing rolling.
All right.
And we can keep talking, though, because it's going to be...
We keep the volume down on the show.
Yep.
So we can chat over it.
Exactly. So let me just grab it here. Usually I have it ready, but I came in a little late and I don't have it quite ready, so I just got to grab it here.
Yeah, speaking of
Give me a second.
Chris Downs, I actually went to his restaurant yesterday.
Oh, did you see him there?
No, he was off yesterday.
Okay, because he's probably there a lot owning it.
Oh, yeah. Wednesday is his only day off, from what I understand.
Yeah, he's busy as hell. Busy as hell running that place.
I'll try to get down there and see him.
So here's our intro from that back in the. This is like this. These shows are aired just like they were aired back in the day. So what I do is I just bring the audio down on stuff that's commercial music, and then because otherwise we get flagged for copyrights on YouTube, and don't. Not that it's a problem, but I just don't like. I don't like them flagging us. So YouTube's got a funny way of letting you use copyrighted music, but then you can't monetize anything. But we're not monetizing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But so yeah, most of this footage in this intro again is coming from our garage studio. Which, by the way, Dave, next week we're gonna visit the garage. We're going back to one of these shows. But this show is show number 62, and it's kind of unique. It was our 2-year anniversary. That's what we called it. It was our 2-year anniversary show, marking the 2nd year of the league, and it was the 2nd show of promoting the Anoka Armory event that we decided we we're going to do. So, Chad, it's interesting. You know, you were initially scheduled to go against Rattlesnake Jake, Jason's character, for the Armory. It was going to be a singles match.
Oh.
And yep, that was who you were assigned for originally. In fact, you talk about it on this show in an interview and stuff. But that match got scrapped because Jason couldn't do it. He couldn't do Rattlesnake Jake because his mom wouldn't let him wrestle anymore. Afraid he's gonna get hurt.
Most of all, we don't want you to miss a 25-man
Yep, right there, Rattlesnake versus Rock-n-Ronnebaum.
That was a huge rivalry with you two. You guys had several matches. Speaking of Jason Klassen, there he is there.
Is he related to you?
No, Klassen is his last name. My last name's Crossen. Totally different.
Oh, okay.
Jason's pretty much off the grid. He lives way up north there somewhere, and he just stays off social media completely.
Cool.
Yeah. So, do you remember this ring much, Chad?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that was my favorite ring.
You liked it, huh?
And outdoors in the backyard, I have to say, or the
Yeah.
other one in Dane. I mean, the other one that was in your backyard. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Because it was the original, you know.
Right. Yeah, we used to do the national anthem, and that's what we're doing here. That was kind of a regular. We do that on every show. I'm real big on that. And that's why I don't have to lower this music, Dave. This music is not copyrightable. It's public domain. So we can play the national anthem. Yep. I like the way we lit this show because we have all our really bright lights behind that black thing that's on the ceiling there, and then it lights up the ring really nice, and then it keeps everything else dark, which is kind of cool.
And Chad, you have somebody saying hello to you, I believe.
Oh no, it's just my wife.
Oh, okay.
I really liked your character, Rock-n-Ronnebaum, I gotta say. I think it was a good character for our show. You know, it was. And this feud you had going with Rattlesnake Jake was great. I wished we could have done this at the Armory, because you had a pretty long riding feud with him. This first match is Invader 1, Terry Block. So here we go, the Eye, Chris Irick. You know, I never understood the name, the Eye. I don't know what he meant by that. Actually, you know what though, Dave? Despite his out of the ring antics that got him kicked off the show, he was on the show was a good character. He was just somebody we really could have done stuff with, you know, if he would have just kept himself in line off the show, you know, outside the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got the chance to work a show with him.
No, because I think this was his last show, as a matter of fact. But he would have been a great heel had he just been able to control his off-show antics, you know.
Yep.
Terry Black, though, is... I love, you know, there was never, I can't think of a bad match that Terry Black was ever in. All his matches were pretty good, even in the early days here. You know, for Terry, that is.
Right.
I don't know if that was added. Will be after this match, Mr.
Yeah, I just mentioned that it was our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah.
That'd be a classic. Rattlesnake Jake versus Rock-n-Roll.
It sounds like me and Kelsey are commentating right now.
Was
Do
this
you remember
my
Matt
first
Kelsey?
Yep.
Yeah. He was your manager for a while, wasn't he?
I think he might have been. I mean, I do remember him on wrestling.
Yeah.
Um,
Kelsey, go ahead.
was this my first show?
No, your first show was way back in January, so this is probably your, like, let's see, we did January, February, March. This is probably like your 5th or 6th show by now.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we did Fred Moore, if you remember, we did Fred Moore every week, but one week we would tape shows, the other week we'd practice. So we'd practice tape shows, practice tape shows. We'd alternate. We'd have, remember those practice sessions we used to do at Fred Moore, where the cameras weren't rolling?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Tried to practice, teach you guys to do drop kicks and stuff, other
And then
more
we-
moves.
We practiced in the other room, I remember, on the wrestling mats in there too.
Yeah, and the other where the archery stuff was, and yeah. So this is in the basement of Fred Moore Junior High, just so everybody understands. And they had a boxing ring down there, and it was a process get in here to get permission to use this. And we finally did get permission, and you know, it was cool because it was a ring. It was a boxing ring though. It wasn't a wrestling ring, so we didn't have. It was tough taking bumps in this ring. But as kids, you're resilient. You can do it a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
This is kind. I like Chris Irick's character. Just like I said, he was just a troublemaker off the show. He might think he heard his nose on that bulldog. I remember hearing this really weird rumor that Chris would wear his wrestling singlet and ride around the neighborhood in the rain. Somebody was telling me that one time back in the day. I'm thinking, well, that's probably the kind of thing Chris would do, wouldn't he?
Yeah. He's just, yeah, he was.
He was a little bit of a loose nut in a way, but good character though for the show.
Dances the beat of his own drum.
Yep. So here comes Chad for an interview. Rock-n-Ronnebaum. I figured I could get away with that because it didn't. Not enough to make it as copyrighted on your Kiss intro there.
I think I remember this interview.
For the Anoka Armory card.
Yes, that's right. And whoever dares to challenge me can just dare to step in and come out, and before they wake up, they'll be in the hospital.
You can still tell it's you, though. Their voice hasn't changed that much. You can still tell it's you.
Sounds a lot different to me.
Well, younger, but
Yeah.
Just slither away, because that's the only way he's going to get away from me. He better get away.
I see. Well, so tell me, I understand you just came back from Tokyo.
Yeah, that's them Tokyo people. They don't know what they're talking about, just sitting around thinking they're so hot. Once they get in the ring, they come out with a broken leg.
I see there, Rock-n-Ronnebaum. Thanks for stopping in the interview area. We'll be seeing more of you in the future and a match on this show. But now, first I would like to talk about the Anoka Armory. Coming up, May 9th, the Anoka Armory tickets are on sale right now. Superstar Spectacular 86. People signed on that card. Rough Ride, Sergeant.
Yeah, we're promoting the Armory, Dave.
Saw a little while back the Ice Dragon, newcomer to the NWF.
Yeah, this is the Ice Dragon's debut as well on this show. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The winner receiving a
Yep.
whopping
That's where he came on.
Crusher Crossen
Promoting the show.
title defense against Pretty Boy Taylor. But now, coming in for a major interview, we have Mr. X.
I don't know if you showed this comment. Another one that's must be a friend of yours, Chad. Josh Johnson.
I don't remember him really.
Mr. X. Thank you.
Yeah.
We understand that your Mr. X2 could not be present today because.
So here's Steve Engstrom, aka Mr. X. He played Mr. X.
He's overseas wrestling to regain his half of the tag team championship over there. So don't go telling all these people out here that he's hospitalized. I see. Well, that must have been.
That's Mr. X. He always wore a T-shirt.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I'll tell you one thing. That mic got thrown around a lot.
You're wrestling
Yeah,
over
it did.
It did.
Well, that was
It's in the-
Steve's. That was Steve's setup. That amplifier and mic. That was Steve brought that.
I was over in Europe for about 2 weeks.
I don't know. It's okay. I kind of rather just have a regular mic in there so we could hear things better.
So I came back to the NWF. All right. We'll be looking forward to you and your tag team partner making their tag team title defense against the Barbarians.
But yeah, that
which
mic
you will
took
be
a-
seeing
took a
on this
beating.
show. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. X. Those tag team champions that the Barbarians now own are still ours. The referee was very dishonest about that decision. Actually, I am wrestling and I'm still the tag team champion of the NWF.
Jason.
And as far as I'm concerned, at the Armory, that will be the day you'll see them titles come back into our hands. So don't you forget it.
Yeah, Steve could always do a good interview.
Mr. X coming in, rather explosive interview, and we will be right back.
In a non-title match. Now,
So yeah, now the next match, and this is going to be the lineup here, so you can see those that list of matches. But Mr. X and Thunder, good match coming up here. These guys could work pretty good. So the Barbarians are still heels right now, Dave, but they became baby faces in the Armory show.
Yep.
Everybody cheered them. And Mr. X and Mr. X2 got booed at the Armory. You hear me yelling, sit down, I'm yelling at Chris Irick.
Yeah, we've tried getting Tim to come on the show, but
Yeah. Be nice to see him come on again, talk to him again too. It's
yeah.
always fun having guys like Chad and come on and be able to watch a show. And so, Chad, what was it like going to school when you're on the show? Do you remember other kids talking to you about it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I'm definitely. How about you guys? Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty quiet in school though, so I didn't. I could, like I mentioned a few shows ago, I would hear other kids talk about it, not knowing that I was on it. I'd listen to their conversations because I was so shy and quiet in school that they never really knew that was me.
Well,
But,
what's so nice though is that we had access to the school, you know. I mean,
Right,
it
for
was
this?
pretty- yeah, I mean, to be able to use a school like that and for free, you know what I mean? To be able
Right.
to go in. I mean, nowadays I don't think the kids could just walk into school on the weekend and do what they want.
No, and I don't think they'd have a boxing ring in a school anymore.
Probably not.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening these days. And then let alone let a kids wrestling show come in and do their matches.
ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
we're here at the table.
Oh, well, we did back in the day. would never be
Superstar
duplicated
Spectacular
nowadays.
86,
No.
which is coming to
But we knew we had the Armory coming up here, Dave, so we were doing these practice sessions pretty heavy right now, and so our wrestling, this is where our wrestling really started to shift to be more presentable. All these Fred Moore tapings is where we really transitioned the wrestling. This is where we really took things a step further into being a little bit more polished with the moves,
Right.
you know, as kids. Because remember, when you look at the earlier shows, it's really rough going, you know, as far as our technique.
Right.
But these later shows, as we get into Fred Moore, and then we start, really when we got the real ring, the one that Chad, that you mentioned in Dayton, when that real professional wrestling ring, that was when we really were able to grow the wrestling.
Yeah. My dad said is one of the guys that did work at our cabin, John Bebo, I think was it his pole barn? I don't know
John
who
Bebo.
owned that. Yeah. You know who owned that pole barn?
Well, I don't know who owns it now, but I know that Ernie Ellis was who owned it at the time.
Okay.
And but he didn't have it for very long, so he lost that location because the farmhouse was just too hard to fix up. It was just in shambles. Remember, that whole farm got abandoned, and that's how we got to get in there. But Vander's he was good. In these days, he wasn't. In these earlier days, Dave, he wasn't so rough like he became. You know, he wasn't so rough with you.
Right. Well, as I remember, Vander and I had a pretty good match out at the pole barn.
Yeah, in Dayton.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we worked together really good that show. It was just.
And I'm telling you, you're in the ring with Steve Engstrom here, you're going to have a good match. The guy was the best in our league as far as taking bumps. And remember, Steve's, yes, he's an adult, but he's taken some major bumps in this ring over the course of these Fred Moore junior high tapings.
Yep.
And you watch him, like when he gets, sometimes he'll get power slam. Like later on, I'm going to wrestle his Pretty Boy Taylor character. Just watch the moves he takes on this ring. And to take the kind of bumps he would take in this ring, I mean, I'm telling you, he could do it. You can say what we want about Steve as a person and stuff back, you know, for what happened with him and Larry, but can't take nothing away from his wrestling ability and his
Exactly.
everything else. I mean, we all know, but it's no secret in how we all feel about what him and Larry did when they took the ring and stuff, but I think that was more Larry than Steve. Steve was going along with it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
he just wanted to continue wrestling, and he thought that would be the ticket.
Right, and because they wanted to kind of go on. They wanted to get into the real big time. Just there was better ways to do it. That's Troy Steenerson reffing there.
Yeah, I grew up with Troy. I known him since kindergarten.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah. So you knew a lot of the guys on the show when you came in then.
A bunch of them. Some weren't in there at the same time, like Killer Campa.
Todd Campa.
Yep, I think he was out of it when I came in, and same with Andrew Carlson.
Yeah, Ace.
Yeah. I think they were out of it by the time I came in.
Yeah, they both left around the same time in the fall. Andrew just wanted to. He left the show. He gave proper notice and everything. He just wanted to do other things, and there was no hard feelings. He just wanted to go out and do other things. And Todd and I kind of got in a little squabble in the neighborhood, and that's why he quit. Because Todd and I were friends, and we'd have little fights off the show, and we got into it over something, and that's why Todd ended up leaving. He would do that a lot, though. He'd get in a little fight, and he'd say, "I'm quitting the show." That was always his thing. But then he'd come back. Well, he never got him to come back after that one.
But Slick was really good at into it. His out, everything.
Yeah, you and your ugly face. I'm telling you. What?
He didn't like interviews, but in the ring he was great.
I'm gonna tell you something. What a lousy mic.
He knew how to do a lot of them wrestling moves in the pool and everything. At that,
Oh, yeah.
Anoka pool, he would
Yeah.
suplex people right in the pool. Oh,
I see, man.
Yeah, and I know Troy had a. Yeah, Troy could have a mean streak. I remember he got in trouble punching some kid in gym class, and he got suspended and everything. But for the most part, if you were his friend, he was the nicest guy. But
yes, you had to be
He
his
loved to
friend.
rib.
yep. Oh yeah, he was a jokester for sure.
I remember one time being out at Troy's place, and I don't remember what happened, but he took off while I was out there.
Yeah.
Nobody else was at the house, so I ended up walking from his house all the way to my house.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
In Coon Rapids.
Yep.
Oh,
You know what? I'm hearing Rattlesnake Jake's entrance music. This has got to be Rattlesnake Jake versus Rock-n-Ronnebaum. I loved this Rattlesnake Jake character. If Jason could have only got the permission to do the Armory, man, it was a great character. Ronnebaum with Kelsey managing at this time, yep.
Yep. Damn.
But you guys were in such a vicious feud that it was just like a brawl. That's not how you started it, because you guys had this is like your third or fourth match now, and it was like a running feud. We were really building this up for the Armory because this was the match we wanted you guys to have at the Armory. There I am yelling at Iric again. He's always fiddling with something off camera or whatever, and I have to yell at him all the time. Chris.
He couldn't sit. He couldn't sit still. That was the problem.
Yeah.
He never could. Like I didn't even want him at my house because I'm worried he was gonna break stuff or. Like I didn't want to be his friend anymore. Seriously.
No, I know you weren't the only one. I mean, he was just he just went down the wrong path for a while there.
Yeah.
Rattlesnake Jake, I hate the guy.
Well, we've all gone down that wrong path at one point or another.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopping all over the ring, making loud noises, gruntings. Look at this.
A lot of us just know when to pull back and
I'm sick of the guy.
avoid going over the edge.
So Chad, you don't have your outfit yet. Eventually, you get the wrestling singlet with the white pants look.
Yeah, but you gotta watch Kelsey.
I think you end up getting that. Like you had that at the Armory.
Wrestling suit underneath it.
Right, the wrestling suit.
The
bandanas, yeah.
Yep. And the glasses.
And you know, at the Yoho show, we did the outdoor taping that we did at the Yoho Municipal in my backyard. You had a kid, I think it was a friend of yours. You called him Bad Brainy, and he was your manager at that time.
Riding along because I slept at his house.
Yeah.
And we lived over north of the fairgrounds, and we biked to your house with that boombox down the middle of Highway 10 on the side of Highway 10. We were like, we were lucky to actually make it to your house alive.
I've done that myself. I biked down that highway. I know what you're talking about. And one time I was biking down Highway 10 like that, and I had a fire marshal guy come over and said, "What are you guys doing on the highway? You're not supposed to be biking on there." He really gave me a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know the back.
Yeah.
Hopped on Main Street. We could have avoided, by Perkins. We could have avoided the whole Highway 10. But we thought it was quicker to go from Ferry Street right down the bridge of Highway 10. No shoulders.
Right.
Oh. We're like, yeah.
But yeah, so that Bad Brainy, was what you called him. He was your man, and that was that's another show we should watch one of these days. But that's where Rock-n-Ronnebaum was kind of taking a heel turn a little bit. You're starting to you're going down the dark side a little bit for your character in that show. I remember.
Yeah, I think I was.
Because that's where Chris went. Chris, the Ice Dragon, he went to become a heel as well. I always liked your interviews. I mean, this one was kind of rough here, but for the most part, you had really good interviews. You were pretty charismatic on your interviews, what I remember.
The new World Tag Team Champions. This is
So these guys, the Barbarians, Tim Holland and Jerry Wellman, are actual cousins.
So tell me, we
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh.
Tag Team Champions of the world.
And do you remember the third cousin to that group?
And
Oh yeah,
me and Mr. X, both of you
Butcher Bulldog.
It was a fight to
Yep.
finish. But I guess
He was their third cousin.
men win.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, Bulldog Butcher. He was around. He was that Russian character. It's part of the Russian destroyer. What do they call themselves? The Russian destroyers.
At the Armory, and they will
I think we'll see him on this show actually. Bulldog Butcher.
team titles. No competition. No competition. I don't think I understand. You mean
Jerry was always the quieter of the two.
Yeah, he was.
I see. Well, we will obviously
Just as good in the ring though. He could work just as good as Tim.
Oh yeah.
Jerry was not as rough either. He didn't get as rough in the ring with you as Tim did later on, you know.
Right.
Here, they have an announcement to make. We have a manager. A manager. Who
Yep.
is your manager?
Talking about their manager, Captain Crunch, if I remember.
Which I believe was Jerry's dad.
Three-time former wrestler or manager of the year. Coming in
Yeah, he was Jerry's dad.
Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch. This man is of a cereal box. I've never seen this character in the NWF before in my life. Cereal box. Where
Captain.
are you coming from?
Jason was always so animated.
We came up with some of the greatest names, the greatest ideas. You know, that for our age, we did. For how young we were, like, you know, the names alone were great names. I mean,
Well, you're right. And, you know, not only that, but think about this. This is our 2-year anniversary show. We've been doing this for 2 years at this point. Now, what group of kids would stay with it and stick with it for that length of time? You know?
that and even the newcomers, like, you know, when they would come in after a couple matches, they felt at home, you know. They knew what to do. They knew how to.
Slick Steenerson. So grab your beer, grab your cookies.
Yeah, newcomer. Like, for instance, when you came on the show in January, you were one of like 8 newcomers on that show. And it didn't take long for you guys to get the hang of it. And, you know.
There it goes.
So here comes Slick Steenerson.
Yeah, Dixie Dave came in pretty quick and started wrestling good right out the
Yeah.
get-go.
Yeah, right after the May Armory card, he came the next day.
I remember him. He was actually talking to me after the match.
Really? That at the Armory?
Dixie Dave talked to me and he said he was going to be doing it. And I said, all right.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Where's the bell?
Yep.
Little one. Okay.
Back
So-
then, I was into collecting all the autographs every time I could. And
Slick Steenerson.
Oh, yeah.
Steenerson, like Chad said earlier, was really good at this. He was kind of one of those naturals in the ring. He could just do it.
Natural,
And
yeah.
for a big rotund kind of kid, like he was kind of like a King Kong Bundy to us at that size, for our size that we all were, right?
Yeah, I
But
think
he
he
could-
weighed in at 140.
Well, he actually weighed more than that. When me and him did our match the following year, he was over 200 pounds, and I had to body slam him, and I couldn't do it because he was too heavy. But I somehow managed to do it in the match. But anyways, Troy, yeah, he doesn't look it, but he was pretty heavy, and he could do it. Did he do his drop pick just now, Troy or Dave? Did I miss it? Yeah, I think he did. Iric, this was planned though. He's jumping in there. We're just building up the Invaders versus the U.S. Enforcers for the Armory. This was going to be the match for the Armory card. There, that guy, the referee, Chad, that's Troy Otto, Butcher Bulldog.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. If I seen his face, like, you know, a clear,
The Ice
I would
Dragon
know. Would
team.
probably know who he is.
So let's go up to ringside and find
Yeah, I don't know
out what
which
this conversation's all
Russians
about.
this is.
And don't forget,
This is a 6-man tag.
don't you dare touch that channel after this, match because it's going to be Crusher Crossen versus Pretty Boy Taylor. So be there.
Let's see. There's the Rough Russians.
Yep.
Lightweight tag team. And there's Butcher Bulldog. Trophy.
Is that Tough Tony one of the Russians or no?
Yeah, that's Tough Tony. Tony Levitt. Yep. And Bernie Prescott was the other one that was the Rough Russian. But Bernie never showed up for the Armory card. He stopped showing up at the Armory, and I don't know what happened there. We had to change the whole match around.
Okay, what a match.
Chad, you're in there again.
I'd like to see
Yep.
getting revved up. The next
Yes,
match is
I always can tell if I'm in there because of the boombox.
Yeah.
That's how I know. Oh yeah, that's me.
All right, ladies.
So you're part of the Ice Dragon team, I guess.
Yeah.
This is kind of like your first. This is probably where the tag team started.
Who is whistling?
Yeah.
All right, you can
He
see
called
Butcher
me
Bulldog
during the
in
week
that ring there.
and then talked to me about what we had planned to do.
I've just
Oh, yeah?
We actually,
have
oh yeah,
no
we
referee for this
got my
match.
phone. We exchanged phone numbers,
What in
and
the world? You
we would
cannot-
he would just call
you
me and
cannot
hey, let's
have
do this,
a-
let's do that, you know,
cannot
tomorrow.
have
Or,
a-
yeah,
Yeah.
he'd call me Friday night,
Yes,
and
the bell was rung.
we would just
Okay, you know
plan
what?
it the night
It's gonna be
before.
rung again.
Yeah, Chris was pretty good. He was really into wrestling back then.
He was. I think we all,
Yeah.
yeah.
I see.
We all
I
were.
remember. Oh yeah, watch this. I mean, do this
Exactly.
during the
Well,
day.
you see,
Do
oh,
this
look
during
at
the day,
power press
and then watch
by
WWF
Conan.
at night.
Yeah.
Saturday main event on WWF at night.
Well, that's
Yep.
how we
Watch that
kind
every
of. That's how all of us kind of got the idea of what moves we wanted to do by watching them on
Yeah.
wrestling.
I
You know.
don't see where these guys get off
And
bashing each other. And Conan, he is quite the
I think
cheater.
Bernie, one of these times we'll have to get Tony Levitt on because I'm friends with him on Facebook, and we can ask him about Bernie Prescott. It must have been a friend of, Tony's. Had to
You
be.
can see the pot belly there on
I know that
what's
Tony
his
was from
face,
Coon
the Butcher
Rapids, Tony
Bulldog.
Levitt, part of the Rough
Butcher
Russians,
Bulldog
Tough
out
Tony.
of
He was
Leningrad,
from Coon Rapids, and I think Bernie was too.
Oh, and the Ice Dragon in the red coat. We were wondering when he was.
Yeah, Ice Dragon looks nothing like that now.
No.
Tony, prior
Dave,
off
what year
that-
did you graduate
that
Coon
there
Rapids?
ring, the ring-
Ah. 93, I want to say.
Oh, an uninvited
Oh,
guest, Mr.
Do you know
Scotty.
her name was Tina Tapio?
Hello, Mr. Johnson.
I don't remember right off the top of my head.
All right, yeah, that's my wife. She graduated 93 in Coon Rapids.
You see,
Okay.
So she was in her class, probably, yeah.
Long way. And as for anyone else, Crusher Crossen.
Well,
Other people that would have been in there in that your class would have been Terry Block.
oh yeah, I remember Terry. Terry Block is the one that brought me to.
Mr. Pretty Boy Taylor. He
Right.
is gonna get that title
And
from
Chad
Crusher
Randall,
Crossen.
he was another one that
Yep.
would have been in that your wife's class.
Goodbye.
Terry Kosnapple would have been in that class.
USA Kelsey
Um,
doing this match.
that were on the show, that is. We had a lot from Coon Rapids, actually.
Now Conan in.
Chris Hansen,
That was-
Sergeant Smash.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Jesus, Jason, that's my guys.
I want to say
Help me now.
subliminally.
Team partner.
I want to say that Hanson does still have one account
Say
going
one thing. Next week,
on
I want
Instagram.
Rattlesnake Jake.
Hmm.
I don't care. Me and
I
me and
think, I'm not for sure,
Kid Kelsey here.
but
we
there's
did
a
the
group
match
on
session,
Instagram
and
about
who
Bump and
comes in?
Store, the arcade that we had here.
Yeah.
in Coon Rapids.
Rattlesnake Jake comes, takes a foreign weapon, hits me
It
in the
wouldn't
back of the
surprise
head.
me at all if
Oh,
Hanson
look
was
at
behind
this.
that.
Little Russians teaming up on Conan.
Yeah, because he collects those Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Frogger. He has all those arcade machines.
Right.
You'll remember
Yeah,
an
he has a whole
incident not too
arcade
long
room.
ago between me, Corporal Crossen, and Kid Kelsey, where the lights fell, injuries. I, for one, was injured.
Yeah, I forgot,
Came in the
Chad. You
ring
had a
after
second
it
match
happened,
on this
the
show.
guy fell and everything. 1 count, 2. Oh, only 2.
Yeah, I can always remember Tough Tony. He was really tiny.
Yep, him and Bernie.
But I mean, he had the perfect, you know. He had a lot of energy, though. I mean, he had a lot of good. You know what I mean? He had a good character move for his wrestling.
Yeah.
He could get thrown around and he'd bounce right back up and come at you.
Oh, he was tough as nails. There's no doubt about that.
He earned his name, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember whipping him one way or another, and he was right back up.
You know, you had to be like, look at Bernie just getting a beating in this match, and you had to be though. Otherwise, the kids that couldn't hack it were the ones that only showed up for a show or two, and then were gone.
Yeah.
We had a lot of kids like that. They just wasn't. It was too rough for them. They couldn't handle it. Whatever. But
they did a bump in that Fred Moore ring, and they were gone.
Yeah.
Some kind of headlock. No, not no more.
But they remember, like I told you, we had this kid, Ghetto Blaster. I wish I could remember his name. He probably somebody you went to school with, Chad, but he was in that your guys' age. He came on the show for one show, and I ran into him at a football game like 2 years later. And he recognized me, and he's like, hey, yeah, do you remember when I came on the show? I was Ghetto Blaster. He totally remembered doing the show, even though he's on it for only one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're sitting down because
But it meant, you know, he remembered it even 2 years later.
Yeah. Mr. Pretty Boy Taylor, so don't go away. No,
Mr. Taylor. Just because we couldn't get his name to fit in there. Pretty Boy Taylor is too long. Yeah, Steve is, this is where he's coming. So he would work Mr. X in the mask, then he would work as Pretty Boy Taylor. And this, you know, Pretty Boy Taylor's character evolved in the NWF quite a bit, but at this stage, he was really trying to be like a Stan Hansen / Rowdy Piper kind of style. That was his kind of his wrestling style in these days for Pretty Boy Taylor.
Look at that, smack with the belt. That ain't even funny.
Yeah, we used to like to hit each other with those belts. And Steve used to get on my case all the time. Chad, don't whip him with that belt. He'd yell. You'd hear him yell at the outside. But then look at him. He just whipped that thing like crazy. When we ever get Steve on the show, I'm going to give him hell about that.
Oh, here we go. Ray Johnson here.
Speaking of some of the NWF belts,
the NWF national title. It's a sharp-looking belt.
It's suitable to be such. This is just the best wrestling. So, just whatever you're doing now, sit.
And we're gonna see you again, Chad. Oh, so who's that? Was that? Who's in the ring? Oh, it's me and Steve. What am I thinking? Now we're gonna see you again on this show, Chad, because we have a battle royal at the end, so you'll be in that too.
I thought the battle royal got canceled.
At the Armory, but on this show we had a battle royal.
Oh, on this show, okay.
Yeah, on this particular show. Yeah, the battle royal got canceled. You remember why?
No.
Yeah, the ring we had at the time, we built a ring for the Armory. It just couldn't. It got some supports got broke underneath during one of the matches leading up to the battle royal, and it just couldn't support all of us in there, so we had to scratch it.
It was probably a good idea with everybody yeah. Too much jumping around there with. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
too bad,
even though I wasn't part of the show yet, I don't think that ring would have supported a battle royal.
Yeah. Thank goodness we got the real ring after that, because that real ring, that was the best.
In that Army, that would have been a grand finale, because we were sold out, weren't we, at the Armory?
On the one that you were on, we were almost sold out. Then, yeah, we had about 350 fans on that first one, but the third Armory in October, that one did sell out. That was 450.
Cool.
But the July card, the one that you didn't make, because I think you were grounded, that one there fizzled on us. That was only about 50 people that showed up. And there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, first of all, Scott Tronson suspended us off the cable because he said we were advertising the Armory card. So it took me a long time to get that overturned, which I did. And then I didn't put any posters up for the July card. I figured, hey, everybody came to the first one. They're going to come to the second one. I just assumed. What a mistake that was. So you learn. You live and learn.
Little microphone trouble here, but
Yeah, Steve and I could work pretty good together as for matches. I always felt comfortable with him, and he did with me. It was just we just gelled together really good in a match.
As you see, my partner,
And
You guys had good chemistry. Steve and I didn't.
well, at least on that particular show.
look at this.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, such pain. That
But yeah, Steve taking these big suplexes on that hard ring. I can feel his back hitting that thing as I watch it happen.
they both
God, that ring was hard. It was hard as a rock.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to do that
going
now.
his way right now.
Just watching this, I'm like, ouch.
Right.
He's going up the top.
You know, like watching Chad do his leg drop, I'm
What?
just like,
Oh, I don't believe it. Oh, look
and
at
you're
that.
still walking after doing that many leg drops on that
Outside
ring?
the ring. But I'm trying to concentrate inside the ring, but it looks like he got a little war going on out there. Corporal
Oh.
Crossen have his own little private war. Look at that. Pretty boy just
Yeah, we had
throws
a few-
Crusher across and out.
Few wars outside
No
the
way
ring.
to treat a champion. Uh-oh.
It seemed like we had wars outside the ring every match, didn't it? Especially on this show.
Crutch used by, I don't know.
So, you remember how I used to have you guys in the crowd then? I'd always be like, come on, crowd, or whatever. Let's go,
Yep.
crowd.
I remember one time we were just
You
beat
can see on
dead
your
tired.
screen.
I think we practiced it for a
Oh,
little
what's
bit,
going
and we
on
had a
here?
long show, and it was at the end of the show,
Oh,
and you came up to us, and you started clapping your hands and said,
The
"Come on, I know
referee
you're tired, but come on."
trying to get control.
I remember them exact words today.
Crusher.
You said, "I know you guys," but you did sympathize. You said, "I know you guys are
What's
tired,
next here?
but we need to get it going." And then we
Well,
started
it was-
cheering again. Yeah,
It was
we
part
were
of
all
the
like-
effect. It was the effect of the show, right? We wanted to make it look like there was a studio audience, right?
For the
Yeah.
Armory match that's
Yeah.
coming up soon.
But near the end of the
That's
show,
May 9th,
everyone
Friday, 7:30.
wanted to just kind of sit around and
Tickets can
chill,
be
and
sold.
Yeah.
you know,
Well, if any little kids come
So
up
do
to
you,
the
do you
door,
remember the
it's
Armory
time
card? Do you remember
to
being
do
in the
it.
dressing room and waiting to go out
Yep.
for your match?
Oh,
Yeah.
Coming back for a minute. He looks like he's
oh yeah,
So what was that like for you?
it was fun. It was like a locker room,
Tickets
like
can
at
be sold at the door too.
professional sport athlete. You know, to be
That
back,
was a great
even though it wasn't really a
clothesline.
locker room or nothing. I think it was a cafeteria or something.
One
I don't know
Rattlesnake
what it
Jake.
was.
I just can't
But-
say
Yeah, they
it.
were like the dressing rooms over there. It was the cafeteria was
Everybody's gonna terrorize
separate because they used
I
that
don't
for the
believe it.
selling the
Whip
hot
'em
dogs and
around like a
stuff.
sack of potatoes and
But we were right
Yeah.
next to
whoever
them.
to match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah.
We had a
all
little
back there.
we had a little closed circuited TV so we could see the wrestling in there.
Terrorize the NWF and
Yep.
go around and beat
Yeah.
everybody up. What's this again?
I was really big on making you guys stay inside the locker room. Do you remember that? Not
Yeah.
going out into the Armory. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I wanted to have the whole effect. Like, you know, you don't want to see the wrestlers mingling in the crowd.
NWF.
oh no,
Right.
no, we did it right. Yeah, you did it right.
One.
Yeah.
You definitely what's the word I'm looking for? Choreographed it good.
Yeah. I know. All I know is we were excited as hell after this. We wanted to go do more of these after that first one, that Armory card that is.
Now, Chad, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, you being, what, 13, 14 back then?
About that, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, you're back in the dressing room. You've been watching the show. Now, your first time coming through that curtain,
The Markov Kelsey fight.
what was going through your head as you walked out and saw that
So right now, let's go up to
that
the
pond of people?
And
A
25-man
little nervous,
battle
but it was fun. It was like a great experience, I'd have to say. To, you know, it uplifts your, you know what I mean? It really uplifts you. Happy to see how far we came, and to see all these people here for us, and a sense of pride.
Yep.
Win or lose, you know that, hey, you're here. So the pride just walking in there and walking out. I seen a video actually when me and the Ice Dragon left the ring. I'm high-fiving all these kids that wanted to high-five me, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And some were coming up asking for autographs, and it was just an honor to be there, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
the honor, the pride and the honor. If I have to narrow it down to 2 words, them are the 2 words I narrowed down to.
And when you mentioned the kids high-fiving you, I remember it too, getting the autographs. But what I remembered most was that age group of, say, 7 to 10-year-olds. That age group, they were really looking up to us.
Yeah, and you had to show a good example because, you know, these could be the future kids in here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at Dixie Dave all of a sudden came in. And
yeah.
You have to really sell yourself even in Armory. Because you don't know who's watching and who wants to join.
Now, this is one of the battle royals we used to do on the show, and it was always the kids loved doing battle royals. We all loved these. They were so fun. It's like playing King of the Hill in a wrestling ring.
Yep.
You know, so much fun.
Keep an eye on all this commotion.
Oh, there goes Chris Irick. He's out.
Just handed to me, superstar.
But it looks like he's just going to go right back in.
Oh, yeah.
86, Friday, May 9th, 7:30 at the Anoka Army. These are almost all title matches. 20-man battle royal. Mr. X, Mr. X2 versus the Barbarians. Crusher Crossen versus Pretty Boy Taylor. Strap match on that card. Rattlesnake Jake versus Rock-n-Ronnebaum. The Invaders versus the U.S. Enforcers, and many, many more.
Yep, we were promoting that Rock-n-Ronnebaum versus Rattlesnake Jake. I'm trying to figure when it changed. I think it changed in the next show or two, because the program guide has it listed with you guys as you and Ice Dragon, so we already had it changed in time for the printing of the program guide. And you guys at the Armory, Chad, you went against the Ring Warriors, Chuck Roberts and Todd Chester, who were coming back into the show. And they were rough with you guys.
Yes, they were. I remember it to this day.
Yeah.
I remember getting body slammed at the beginning of the match, and I could see the whole Army from up there. I literally could see everything for a split second. I'm like, oh God, I'm way up in the air. And how tall was he? Do you remember? Or?
They were pretty big guys. I mean, but they were tough kids, and they were rough. And I remember you got a forearm right to the forehead, and it came right in front of the camera.
Yeah,
outside the ring.
But when he picked me up, he extended his arms out so he could get me higher, and then just basically dropped me on my back. And I went, I felt it. And then, you just had to kind of turn around, suck it up, and I'm like, this ain't gonna be good. Yeah, it was the toughest match probably I ever been in there. I would have to say. It was a lot.
You could tell watching it was a rough one for you, for both you and Chris.
Yeah, it was like nothing like wrestling here. It was with all the fans. I mean, it felt like, the nicer ring. The ring's up higher, walking out, getting in, and then everybody watching you get the piss pounded out of you is all you can say. and then
that was for sure.
But then once you left the ring, all them kids still wanted to high five you. You felt pride. Like I said, win or lose, you had a great time. Yeah, you enjoyed it. You had a lot of pride, even if you lost.
Yeah, in the fall we went to Sandburg Middle School and did a show in the back gym at Sandburg, and it was a community school thing after school. And I want to say 20 or 30 kids showed up for that. And it was the same atmosphere. They were all into it. They must have been watching the show. That's how they knew about it. And now they were a little bit older kids, but they still were into it. They still thought it was cool. They weren't even in the show. They were just other kids that went to Sandburg.
But no, I remember at the October show, I remember walking out and seeing all the people, and first thought in my head is, don't screw up.
Yeah.
can't get out. He's stuck.
Well, it was the toughest one to do, and neither one of you were there, was that July card, because we had come off of the big card at the Armory that Chad was on, that you were at, Dave. And we went back to the Armory expecting that again, and we had like 50 people out there. And it was so dead and quiet in that crowd that you could hear a pin drop, it seemed. So it was really hard to go out for your match with only 50 fans there. But then I tell that story to people, and they're like, 50 fans at an independent show is usually a good night.
Right.
But to us, it was a disappointment because we wanted 300 plus again.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to. I was going to say I hate to say it, Crusher, but I think we drew more at the Armory than
Well, it looks like we are out of time.
Eddie used to draw in Fridley.
You could say that. Well, they had some big cards there in Fridley. But yeah, you're right. Our Armory shows were bigger. There's no doubt about that. Chad, here's somebody saying hello to you, Chris Watson.
Ooh, he takes a fall.
I don't.
Also working on Thunder, Crusher Cross.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, Chris Watson was the name.
Giving a little bit of a hand, and
Oh.
Thunder, I believe, yes,
I don't.
he's out.
Chris
Thunder is
Watson.
out.
Who's that?
We'll move there.
Yep, there it is
See
again.
the Russian destroyer Brutus. I believe that's Brutus Markov at ringside.
Chris
Ooh, Conan and
Watson.
16 battle light. It's a four-man
I
war.
don't know off the top of my head who that is.
Crossen, draped against
Yeah, they're
ropes.
people that obviously know you.
Chris
Choking
Watson.
Corporal Clausen, Brutus Markov
So
outside the
this
ring.
battle royal's dwindling down. Look at, there's the Sheik.
What's the Sheik doing in there? He shouldn't be
The Iranian Sheik.
Yeah, the Iranian Sheik. I wasn't even scheduled to be there.
At ringside now. Slick Steenerson's flat Corporal Clausen down. Sergeant Smash still
So
in
who do we
there.
got left in this battle royal? Looks like
Mr.
me,
Steve Engstrom.
Steenerson.
Well, thanks
Who's
for
that?
winning the money
That's Corporal
tonight. Thanks for
Clausen,
that
Pretty
shirt
Boy
you
Taylor,
found
and
for
Conan,
Yours truly.
I think.
And it looks like we got a four-man war back and forth against
Steenerson and
Corporal
Corporal Clausen going at it.
Yeah, it looks like Clausen's getting the best of Steenerson.
And me and Conan over there, I think.
Tell you
Taylor's
the truth,
out.
I don't even remember who wins this one.
I don't either, to be honest. I haven't seen this in so long.
Yeah.
So isn't it cool for you, Chad, to watch this again, to see yourself
Oh,
again?
yeah. Thank goodness for good social media. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would be just lost.
Yeah.
Some people at work about it, and they go, and then they just thought we wrestled like in your downstairs, and we recorded it and put it on a tape, and that's all it was. And then when they seen this stuff, they're like, "Whoa, we didn't know it was that big." They
Yeah.
thought it was just a YouTube recording from
Right.
like how your wrestling first started in your basement.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they thought all it was at first. Just a
Yeah,
basement
well,
wrestling. And they
Yeah,
didn't,
it
they
did
didn't
start
realize
that way. It did start that way. There's no doubt about that. But
Yep. It did start that way. They didn't realize how big it was until they seen all the stuff for sale, and yeah.
Let's see now. Corporal Clausen,
So it's down to me and Clausen and Conan, and me and Clausen are working over Conan. This is classic battle royal finish. And what's going to happen is we're just working over Conan. Can you see what's going to happen, Dave, or do I have to? You don't want me to spoil it, do you?
Yeah, don't spoil it.
Don't
classic-
spoil, yeah.
It's a classic finish of a battle royal.
Okay. I'm gonna see who wins and then head to the restroom quick. Okay, so Clausen's out.
Still flat on his back, old canvas back in the middle of the ring. Conan picks him up.
I don't know if this was an over-the-top battle royal or not.
Take over.
So the fact that I'm out of the ring, I think I'm out.
And over goes Corporal Clausen, and your winner for the evening's battle royal is Conan the Destroyer.
So Conan wins it. Now here comes the beating.
We'll see you all next week.
Of course.
And all the
Everyone gets back.
chaos, everybody come running in.
All hell breaking loose.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna run to the restroom quick. Be right back.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was
It's
One of our-
interesting to look back at those days.
yeah, Fred Moore was a fun place. It just Saturday morning, that's where you'd go. That's where we'd go as kids, and we'd do those tapings, and it was such a thrill to be we were just so excited at that time to be in to us, what was a real wrestling ring, like to us. Even though it wasn't, but.
To this day, every time I drive past Fred Moore, I grin. I never went to school there, but just driving past there, all the memories come back.
But Mr. Daniels was so angry at me for going over his head to get permission. This community school director, he called me down to let me know we got permission. And he said, the next time you want something, I would appreciate it if you come to me first and not go over my head. Like, real firm. And I wanted to say, Mr. Daniels, I came to you 2 years ago and you said no. But I didn't want to ruin it. I wanted to get into Fred Moore, and I thought if I piss him off, that would just ruin it, right?
Yep.
So I didn't say anything. I just said,
bit
okay.
your tongue.
Yeah, I bit my tongue. And we got permission to get in there. And I remember telling Jason about it on the phone call that night. I said, Jason, we got permission to get in. I told him whatever Mr. Daniels said, and he goes, what I would have said is I would have said, we did take things in the right steps, Mr. Daniels. We just stepped on you. I said, yeah, that would have got us kicked out in a hurry. Don't want to insult Mr. Daniels.
Exactly.
But that was a fun show. And Chad, so where do you think, what was the reason that you took a break from the show then in the fall? Like you were gone for a while until you came back in January.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I know I was in karate.
Were you doing karate?
8th grade. So I don't know if that was it, because that was
just too much going on.
Yeah, it was probably too much because I wanted to join karate too, and then I don't know because that place went out of business, and I might have jumped back in. I don't know.
But you did come back in January.
Yep, at the Dayton one.
Yeah, I mean that would be me. That would just be me calling and saying, "Hey, you want to come on again? Do you want?" I was big on. I would always get a hold of former guys that were on the show to try to get them to come back again.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but it was fun. I mean, it's for all of us, it's fun memories to look back at what we did as youngsters and know that we made a pretty big impact, at the time, especially in the Anoka area and the Twin Cities. The show was being aired. What's that?
Oh, I was going to say my cousins that didn't really know me but knew my other cousins because they're like my second and third cousins. They called my other cousin and said, hey, and they live up in Alaska, and they said, I seen this wrestling with this Rock-n-Ronnebaum on it. So it was aired up in Alaska.
Yeah, I mean, we sent it to 22 states and major cities, and so major cities would pick it up. We'd get it on, but we were really heavy in the metro, like every single cable system, every suburb we were airing in. So the Twin Cities area, and I've said this before, there was a time that our show was so popular that there was a time where you could have come up to somebody and said, hey, have you ever heard of NWF wrestling on cable? And they're going to say, yeah, I heard that. I've seen that. It was that popular at one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back in the area,
Yeah.
Well, in your book, didn't you tell a story about somebody visiting from out of state?
Yeah, Mike Ackerman, he's told a story on the documentary too. Mike Ackerman had some friends, they were all playing football, and some friends had visited from Denver, and they didn't know Mike. But they recognized him, and they said, hey, well, they're playing football. They go, aren't you Merciless Mike? And he's like, yeah, how'd you know that? And he goes, well, I've seen your show in Denver. So they recognized him just from the show. Mike had a pretty recognizable face, though. It's the kind of guy, if you've seen him, you'd recognize him. But
I remember I had teachers that were would say, hey, I saw you last night and all that, and
yep.
Yeah, they were.
Remember Mr. Manthe at Fred Moore? He was a camera operator on that first Armory card. He volunteered to do it.
What was his role in the school? Do you know? I can't.
Well, at the time, he just taught like graphic arts, I think it was, and then.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
But he became the principal at Coon Rapids High School years later.
He did.
Yeah.
He was my medals and woodworking.
Yeah, he did shop. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
he did shop.
remember that.
I believe it was him. Oh, Manthe, yeah.
Yeah, Manthe. He had that face that looked like it got stuck in a vise. So he had that really unique look. Nice guy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he totally agreed to do our camera because we needed a camera guy. So he says, I'll do it for you. Because I didn't want one of the wrestlers out running the camera. That's what I didn't want for our first Armory card. Because our camera operators...
Professional.
Right, our camera operators was us, right? Hey, who's going to be on camera? Who's on camera? I'd always be shouting out.
You know, that's one thing that was special about our organization that we were a part of is, like, when I joined, the only adult there was Steve.
Yeah. Which... There's times where you question who's the adult and who's not, right? Exactly. Steve was so goofy. Steve could be so goofy sometimes. But, you know, a lot of people too...
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, goofy's the right word. But a lot of people would say with Steve, you know, people today say, why did you have this adult guy, Steve, hanging around with all you kids? It's such an eyebrow raiser. But back in those days, that kind of thing wasn't. Nobody questioned that kind of stuff. And almost they kind of liked the fact that there was an adult around kind of keeping an eye on us.
Yep.
But, you know, Steve, I can say I've said it before, he didn't have any weird intentions. He just wanted to be in wrestling and he wasn't big enough. Bottom line. And he just wanted to be a part wrestling, of it. Yeah.
And we were his avenue to do it.
Exactly. And Chad, did you order your wrestling singlet from Steve? Because remember he was selling everybody the wrestling suits for like $20. Is that how you got yours?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So you got yours. A lot of kids didn't.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Hansen didn't get his, but Chris Hansen only goes, and thank God I didn't get it, because Chris back then he was kind of a little pudgy kid, and he's like, I would look like an idiot in that wrestling suit. So he didn't want to wear it anyway, but. You just want, $20 is a lot of money back then.
That's what I was going to say. $20 was a lot. I mean, I think my allowance at that time was $1 a week.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a job as a paper route because they did that by cars. And there was like, any work I did for my dad, he's like, see this dinner, that's your allowance, you know? And so to make a buck, it was
Chad,
like,
did you live in Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
Okay, did you live close to Troy Steenerson, somewhere in that area?
Very close. He lived basically across St. Francis Boulevard. You know Highway 47 there.
Yeah, I know where Troy lived.
He lived basically on the other side, kind of that.
Okay.
And his house was known as the long driveway.
So you were close to Tommy. You were close to Tommy Katniss and Troy Steenerson then.
Oh, Tommy Katniss. Yep, I knew him. Yep. I knew him since King Guard.
Katniss came on the show for the last Armory card we did.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he was on the Tommy Tornado Katniss, was what he called himself.
Cool.
And, yeah, he was good too. And I remember he wanted to. Tom wanted to. He's like, "Can you work with me? Because I don't want to just go into this blind." So we had the ring set up at Troy's off the highway, and for several days I worked with Tom to get him up to par on what to do. And because Tommy was like, he was concerned. He didn't want to look like an idiot. He wanted to know a little bit of what he's going to do in the ring. So I remember that about Katniss. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I worked with them there, but you know, it's been fun, like chatting again and seeing you again, Chad. I hope you liked watching the show with us this week and coming on.
Yeah. It's honor to be here. Thanks for asking me to come.
Nah, it's like everybody that's been on our show is welcome to be a guest on our weekly show here.
Anybody who wants a single match for the NWF is welcome to come
It doesn't matter if you held a belt or whatever. I want everybody to come on the show that was a part of it and just share their story a little bit and talk with us. And I think it's fun to, you know, and I think the fans like to see it too. The people that are catching up on our story or whatever, and they want to see this too. So it's been good for everybody.
It's kind of like if you look at the graphic when Crusher posts these online, you see a picture of Crusher back then and now.
Yeah. Want to give a shout out to Tom Hubin. I don't know if I'm Hubin or Hubin. I'm not pronouncing it right, but glad to see us relive the past, and we are too. We love doing it. It's just fun to
stroll down memory lane.
Yeah, just kind of watch the shows again. Like I said, when we do the earlier stuff, like from Group W Cable and even some of the garage, like next week we're gonna look at some garage stuff. The wrestling can be a little bit. What's the word you'd like to use, Dave? The wrestling back in those early days.
Unpolished,
yeah. Rough around the edges. It's just we were still trying to find our way into doing this kind of thing. So it was kind of a learning of the ropes. And when you're in Group W Cable in that ring, I mean that wasn't even a ring. That was just something that looked like a ring, and you couldn't work in there like a match. It was tough. So it was tough to grow.
Well, yeah, it's tough for every bit. You think about it. What is it? Every business starts out really small. Disney World started back in a shed where he drew a mouse, and his daughter or granddaughter wanted to see it, and he drew a mouse on a scratched piece of paper, and that's how Walt Disney World started. And look how big that is. And
right.
It's a little shed, not even big enough for one car to fit in, like a garden shed.
But how, Chad, remember how you mentioned how you had friends that thought we just did it in the basement and it was just that?
Yep.
But when we did it in the basement, my goals at that time was I wanted a ring and I wanted to do all of this. I visioned us doing that Armory card back then. I just didn't know how we were going to get there. But that was the goal, at least my goal, for the show from day one. I want to be in front of a live crowd, Chad Jones, Memories of Group W, because Chad Jones is one of the guys that kind of worked with us behind the scenes. He was in the technical side, in the control room. He was one of the volunteers that I met early on in Access, and so he did a lot of the directing for those Group W Cable shows that we did way back in the day.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's who that is. I always like seeing Chad again. Chad and I go way back. Many, many years. It's been so long. We're all getting older, and so it was great having you come on, Chad, to be able to see you again and reminisce a little bit. And
watch as much as you want.
I will. And then
if you're not on the show, what's that?
I was going to say in about 20 years, we all can just take our wheelchair and go up to our camera, and we'll still go at it.
It's funny you mentioned that because when I was chatting with Steve Engstrom, Pretty Boy Taylor, Mr. X, I was chatting with him on Facebook Messenger a few weeks ago, and he said, maybe we can promote another, maybe you can promote another card, and we'll call it the Walkers, Canes, and Crutches match. That would be a first. Yeah.
Now, Chad, I think this is one of the first times we've said this on air, but Sean and I are working with the Minnesota Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And we're also working on getting a show together next year where all of us just sit around and reminisce.
Okay.
So.
Because next year is going to be our 40th anniversary of the start of the
show.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. Let me know.
Maybe if we even go to the Armory and do it. Like just outside the Armory or something.
Yeah.
Just sit down and have a round table where we can all just chew the fat and reminisce, and everybody can reconnect.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll be
so
there.
To any of the NWF alumni that are watching, keep that in mind.
That's for sure. And Dave, I just want to point out before we go here.
Maybe we could get it some extra chairs set up if fans out there want to watch the reminisce, like live. If we could maybe on our page, who knows?
Yeah.
Like instead of just us around that table and recording it, maybe we could get some people that want to come live and see us reminisce.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, Chad, if you stick around after we go off air, we'll kind of kick around some ideas that we've had.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm looking for Dave. I'm just trying to find our. Which I thought I had it, but I didn't. There it is. Just give me 1 second here. I forgot to get this up. But so next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are going back to the. Well, we're not going. We're going for the first time. We're going to the garage studio. That's what we called it. It was just basically where we had all our tapings in my garage. May 11th, 1985, for NWF Taping 40 from the garage, and then that'll be a fun one to watch, Dave.
Oh yeah, watching all the NWF alumni do their thing.
It was the first. It was the first show where we had I guess you could say, a working ring. You could actually hit those. You could actually hit those ropes and go off those ropes.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. And there again, though, it's actually a harder ring than the Fred Moore ring, I got to say, Dave, because that was just a wood thing that didn't. The same with the Anoka Armory that you were on, Chad. That was no give in that ring.
Yeah.
That was just wood.
You forgot the padding on there, huh?
We had a little bit of padding, but that was it. But the garage was worse. It was just a layer of carpeting.
Oh,
it was horrible. I was like resting on a living room floor and doing huge moves. It's amazing. I think it's amazing that we never really got hurt.
It is.
I
mean,
if you think about it.
I think the one injury I seen one time is when Slick Steenerson dressed up like a lady, because you know how who was it? Gorgeous
Adrian Adonis.
Yeah, he did it at the Armory card. He dressed up like a woman.
Yeah, and then but one of our tapings in the Fred Moore Junior High, he sprayed the Lysol. Actually, like how Adrian Adonis did it in the face.
Yeah.
When they're wrestling to get. Well, he actually got it in that. I don't remember if it was Luscious Larry or who, but he actually got it in their eyes real bad, and we had to stop the match. I don't know if you remember, his eyes were all red, and
really,
I remember that he got it in the face, and it was like a timeout, and then we went back to wrestling. But he actually accidentally got it really good in the eyes.
Well, what Steenerson loved to do is he would like to make it look like he threw salt in your face. He did this several times, but what it wasn't salt, it was flour. Because salt would kill you. I mean, if you imagine real salt getting thrown in your eyes, it would you'd be done. But this was actually flour, but Troy would throw it like a baseball right in front of your face. And I remember one time he did it to me in the garage and it went right into my eyes. And I was like, I was blinded. I couldn't see anything. And it didn't hurt, but I couldn't see anything.
I would think the flour would almost be worse because as soon as it gets wet, it starts matting up.
Yes, and it was like a paste. It was like, it took forever to get it out of your eyes.
First you need a napkin, then you need a putty knife. Oh.
Yeah, Steenerson liked doing that. That looked great though when he did it because it did look like salt, and so it was a great gimmick. But
he did like to do like all of us. What we saw like on WWF, what they were doing. We did the same thing. We were just the only differences is our size, but we did all the same stuff that they did in the ring, and
you're absolutely right.
The interviews were pretty cool, yeah.
And not only that, Chad, but back then though, the moves we were doing, I always remind people of this. When people see us in the moves we did, they're thinking, well, that's just kind of basic, but that's what professional wrestling was back then. Yeah. Back in those days, it was the body slams, suplexes, drop kicks, leg drops, elbow drops, right?
These were drop kicks.
Body slams. These were your moves. It wasn't a 360 hurricanrana off the top rope or whatever, or some fancy move like that. Exactly. Those things didn't even happen yet. That's 20 years later.
In Japan, overseas,
Right. So the style of wrestling was much more basic in the 80s, and so that's kind of what we're doing. We're doing what we know, from that time period, right?
It's just like the BMX freestyle. I mean, it was, maybe you'd see a few people in America that could do one backflip off a bike. Now the hills are much higher. They're doing triple backflips and Superman, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just because
that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. Things were that's how it was everywhere back then, though. You're right.
Right. And so when people came, like 350 people came to the Armory and watched us, well, they were entertained because they were watching the same moves that they'd seen in professional wrestling at the time.
Yep.
It would be different to do.
They saw. They were seeing the moves that they saw on the AWA, NWA,
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
WWF, you know.
Yeah. So it's hard for people. And the only reason I bring this up is because then you get younger fans today that see our stuff and they're like, well, what's this? But it's a different time period. You know, it's a different era.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But yeah, so another week, another fun episode, a great guest, and Chad. And Chad, I want to thank you again for coming on with this. It was great having you here. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you.
You know, you're welcome to come back any other time too. Maybe I'd love to have you come back when we do that show where you and Ice Dragon team up on the outside taping. That was a good one for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe do one of those shows.
Yeah, we'll have to try and get him on the same show, and then.
Yeah, I know he's hard. He's busy with that pizza place, but I'd love. Yeah, it'd be fun to maybe have you both on for that.
Does he have little kids or grandkids? I don't know.
He's got grandkids at this point.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen some of his Facebook videos with the little girl and at his restaurant making pizzas, and he turned into quite the chef. Obviously, he's got I think he owned a taco bus or something, or before.
Yeah, he had that food truck for a while.
A food truck, yeah.
But yeah, I'm telling you, if you ever get to Maplewood Mall in Maplewood, Minnesota, go to that pizza place in the food court. It's called The Slice. It's the only pizza place there. It is so good and it's such a reasonable deal too. You can get he has this like lunch special where you get this like pizza so big with a soda and like for $8 or $9. It's just, and it's really good. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because it's Chris. I'm a pizza buff myself. I love good pizza, and he makes a really good pizza.
You know, when I went there yesterday, I got a personal pizza, and I got his cheese stuffed breadsticks. You know, I got home and I didn't eat the rest of the day until I was ready to go to work last night.
Yeah, I know that's gonna be filling. All right, so Chad, we're going to just run the credits for the show, wrap this up. Just stay with us, and we'll chat with you when we're off.
All right.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week when we do Dave. We don't have a guest, but it's going to be a fun show.
Just you and I, the way it started.
Yep. So we'll see you next week, folks.
See you then.